अथ श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता प्रथमोऽध्यायः। धृतराष्ट्र उवाच धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः मामकाः पाण्डवाश्चैव किमकुर्वत सञ्जय।
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज भगवत गीता की जय। So once again, I welcome you all for this today's session on Bhagavad Gita. So we are in chapter 1. We are discussing. Let's quickly recap what we have done yesterday. So yesterday we have tried to understand what is the importance of Bhagavad Gita, what is the importance of having a meaningful life, a purpose in your life. And we also found out that we are not complete unless and until we have an understanding about ourselves and who is the Supreme Lord and what is my relationship with my Supreme Lord. Excuse me. So today we will understand the chapter 1, which is entitled or titled observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. If you see these Vedavyas, the name he has given for this chapter, can somebody remember what is the name given, Sanskrit name given for this chapter? If you see in a Gita Press book or any other book, or including the Sanskrit version of Vedavyas, there is the name that is given, which is a kind of a little contrary to what we are seeing here. Arjuna Vishada Yoga, Supriya Mataji. So Arjuna Vishada Yoga. So like a lamentation. So Arjuna is lamenting, and it seems like he is connecting to Yoga means to connect. Yuj means to connect. So Yoga means to connect, and he is trying to connect to the Supreme Lord through Vishada. So that is what we came to know, or we come to know about the title. But now, on the contrary, you see that the name that is given is observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. It has nothing to do with Vishada in one way. It is the emphasis. Can you tell me where is this emphasis on this? If you see the sentence, which is the word which is more emphasized is there? Can somebody tell me? on the screen, on the chat, please. Which do you think is more emphasized? Is it Kurukshetra? Is it armies? Is it battlefield? Is it something else? Or observing? Ha, Ananta Prabhu from Hyderabad. Thank you, Prabhuji. Actually, the acharyas say that observing is what is emphasized. Why it is emphasized? If you see the root cause of the lamentation of Arjuna, if you observe, it is because the way he is observing things are now different. And that is the root cause of his lamentation. Basically, if you ask yourself also, so if you have some defect in your observation, your thinking will change, your feeling will change, and your willing or doing things will change. So the root cause of our lamentation, our problems that we are facing in this particular world is also because of this particular issue, that our observation is not the right observation, and we are in the confused state because of this reason only. So if you can correct your observation, then your thinking will be rectified, or it will be taken care, and your feelings towards certain things will change. And when your feelings change, when thinking change and feelings change, your willing or doing things or your action will change. So this is the beauty about Bhagavad Gita. It is not at a surface level we are doing some kind of a management courses. In 5 minutes, how can I change my habits? It's not like that. It is going to be a process where you need to deep dive. It is not that we are doing certain things at a surface level. See, in fact, if you see, for that matter, all our shastras, whether it is shastra which is associated with Ayurveda or any other field of Veda, it solves the problem at a root level. In Ayurveda, what we used to practice and we practice is that we see the Vata, Pitta and Kapha. Not that symptomatic treatment like any other medical field. We try to go to the root, and I request all of you to also don't take the solutions which are coming at the surface level. Try to find out the answers which can solve the problems, not for this life. I would say that you should think about solutions which will solve, yes, definitely for this life, but subsequent lives also. So that is what we should be thinking about. And now, one other thing before we get into the details. Now, who are the prominent people that you see here in Bhagavad Gita, or in that, for that matter, in the Kurukshetra war? How did this entire Bhagavad Gita start? Can somebody tell? How did the Bhagavad Gita start? Yeah, Pandavas and Kauravas. And how did the Bhagavad Gita sloka start? Okay, Dharmayudh, Arjuna had doubts. Actually, we are forgetting one thing. Which is the first sloka in Bhagavad Gita? Ha, Sai Karthik Prabhu. And Sri Lekha Mataji also. Dhritarashtra Uvacha. So now, see, one general question I also had is that, see, Bhagavad Gita is a spiritual manual. And Dhritarashtra is not the right kind of a character to start this particular spiritual manual. How is that Dhritarashtra was introduced, and he is saying that, how did this entire Bhagavad Gita start with what sloka? Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsava Mamaka Pandavas Chaiva Kim Akurvata Sanjaya. So Dhritarashtra Uvacha. That means actually Dhritarashtra is introducing Bhagavad Gita. So now my question was, why is that Dhritarashtra is introducing? But actually, truly speaking, Dhritarashtra in more or less in one way, we are also in that mixed mode. Dhritarashtra also was in that mixed mode. He was associated with and attached with his son so much that he knew that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He knew that he is not going to win, but still there is a hope. There is a false hope that maybe there is a chance that my sons can win. And with this kind of a false notion, he kind of pursued his entire career. So for us also the learning is there. So let's see that in greater detail. Now, before we go into that, let me conclude with this observation part. Now, if you see the observation of, say, Duryodhana, what was the observation of Duryodhana? Duryodhana wanted to win. He wanted to kill. He wanted to kill Pandavas. Why? Because he was very envious of them. Okay. In fact, Duryodhana is the representation of Kali, actually. We all know that. When he was born, there was so much of havoc in the environment. All the animals were crying, donkeys were crying at their peak, and there was a lot of bad omens were coming. So some people told to Dhritarashtra, kill this Duryodhana. While he was as a child, he will be a bad example for you and a bad example for Kuru dynasty. But still, because of this attachment that he had towards his son, he did not do that. That is the root cause of our existence in this material world and for our suffering also. Because we are attached to certain things to which we are not supposed to. So we'll find out what is attachment and how do we. Now, observing Duryodhana, Duryodhana's observation was, I wanted to win, I wanted to kill. And what was Arjuna's observation? Arjuna's observation was, I don't want to win, I don't want to kill. And what was his root cause of his observation? He was compassionate. Now, some people say that, yeah, this is the right kind of compassion only. What's the problem with it? Why should we kill? Why should we engage in ghastly warfare? So now what is the observation of Krishna is very important to us. Krishna's observation is that, Arjuna, you should fight. You must kill, but not with a weak heart, not with a compassionate heart, but with a higher purpose in your life. And that higher purpose is what Krishna has tried to give in the next 700 slokas or whatever Bhagavad Gita has spoken, so that now Arjuna can get that higher purpose and then fight. Because initially, whatever arguments he has given, it is as per the Shastra only, that you need to be compassionate, and when you engage in this war, there will be so many people who will be dying, especially men, and women will become widows, and Varna Sankara will happen, and all these arguments are Shastric only. But still, he didn't have a deeper purpose, and he didn't have that higher purpose. And the reason for Bhagavad Gita speaking is for us to have a higher purpose in our life. And with that introduction, I would like to move ahead. So what are we trying to do here? So we are not trying to read these slokas and get a, excuse me. So here we are not interested to get some expertise and become persons who can classically recite slokas. Our focus is that, can we pick up certain practical applications that we can do while reading Bhagavad Gita, or undergoing this course of a short course on Bhagavad Gita in 80 days. Now, the way that Bhagavad Gita has been divided is that the first 6 chapters are under Karma Yoga sector, and the next 6 chapters are the Bhakti Yoga, and the last 6 chapters are Jnana Yoga. So there is an analogy also which says that Bhakti Yoga if you take a sandwich, if you take, you call it as sandwich, it's a potato sandwich or vegetable sandwich, because you are giving importance to what is there in the middle. So similarly, Bhagavad Gita, if you see, though Karma Yoga part is spoken in the start of the session, 6 chapters, and Jnana Yoga, but Bhakti Yoga is in the middle, because that is where the core is. Now it is also compared with the convoy of a king who goes on a parade or to some place where the initial convoy is there and the last convoy is also there, and in between king is secure. So Bhakti Yoga, if you wanted to understand, you have to understand the Karma Yoga and also the Jnana Yoga, and with that support is what Bhakti Yoga will be able to be understood properly. Now, if you see, there are 5 basic truths that are topics that have been discussed in Bhagavad Gita. The first one is called Ishvara, that is God, the supreme controller. Jiva, the living entity. All we are jivas, living entities. The Prakriti, the material nature. The Kala, the time, and the Karma. So the other first 4 are eternal, and the last one, which is Karma, is not eternal. If you have any questions in this regard, we'll take it up as part of the question and answer session. Now, what is the subject matter discussed in Bhagavad Gita? We have seen yesterday. So these are the today just now: Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. So these are the topic. How should one understand Bhagavad Gita? Very important. There is an emphasis on this slide for the reason that we should understand Bhagavad Gita not by our own way, the way we wanted to, like any other academic books. The way you need to see, when suppose you go to a doctor and he gives you a prescription, and in the prescription he will tell you that how you should be using this medicine: morning 2 tablets, evening 2 tablets, before meals, after meals. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita is a prescription for us. Why it's a prescription for us? Because we are kind of diseased. We are conditioned because of the being in this material world. We are conditioned. We are diseased. So we need to have this prescription of Bhagavad Gita, and how you need to have this. What is the conditions, or how should we take this Bhagavad Gita is what is told here. Not as a mythological story, but as a true historical event. This really happened. You know that Dwaraka, they found out from archaeological survey, under the ocean, it is still there. So all these are real events that are happened, not mythology. Mythology comes from a root word called myth. This is unfortunately, these are the words that are coined by Britishers. And they have told all our Shastras, all our scriptures as mythologies. And we have been brainwashed with that. It's not a myth. It's actually a history. It has happened. So that is what we need to understand. One should accept the Bhagavad Gita as it is, that is, without twisting the meaning to suit one's liking. There are a lot of people who give interpretation of Bhagavad Gita. I can name so many, and they do it based on their to suit their requirement. There are people who also, and if you go to some places, very dharmic places, you will find that dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. I asked, what is this? Then one person said that you safeguard dharma, your religion, then it will safeguard you. Is dharma, religion the same? Because they wanted to utilize that for their own purpose and to suit their own liking. That is not what we should do. Third thing, Bhagavad Gita means song of God. So one should accept the speaker, Lord Krishna, as God, at least theoretically in the beginning. So because we do not have the complete understanding of who the Supreme Lord is, at least theoretically understand that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. And we have, we can discuss in greater detail why you can say that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. That we will discuss very systematically. We will not take it dogmatically. So Bhagavad Gita should be understood in the spirit of devotion. So what is that devotion? We will see that. What is devotional service? And that is the core of Bhakti Yoga is devotional service. And what is that? We will see. Otherwise, it will be like a bee licking on a bottle of honey unless one opens the bottle. So Basically, if you don't understand Bhagavad Gita in the spirit of devotion, you cannot enjoy. It will just be like any other book you are reading, any other novel that you are reading, and this will also be like that, and no impact to you. Like if you wanted to taste the honey, you need to open the bottle cap and then drink it. So to drink that, you need to have the spirit of devotion. Okay. Similarly, the spiritual wisdom and the mysticism of Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by the devotees and not by others. So you need to become a devotee. And what are the qualifications to become a devotee? Who is the example for us to become a devotee? Or who is the, can somebody tell me who is the right example of a devotee? Based on your experience of reading or knowing or listening. Yeah, Nitish Prabhu, Arjuna, he says that. Mirabai, Shanmukhi Mataji, Srivalli Mataji, Arjuna. Okay. Chaitanya Maha, Rushi Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much. Now, nor can the Bhagavad Gita be touched by persons who envy the existence of Lord. So, one of the very, very important characteristic of a devotee is that he is non-envious. If you see Duryodhana, he was so envious of Pandavas when all were invited for the when the new capital Indraprastha was created by Pandavas. So Duryodhana and his entire family was also called. When he saw the opulence of Indraprastha, he was so envious that he could not even tolerate that. So much envious. And he was so arrogant that you see when in the sun, it is a scorching sun, and there was a servant who wanted to have an umbrella on top of him so that he doesn't get that heat. Now this Duryodhana said, what, an umbrella on my top? So nothing should be anything be above me. So, and he asked his servant, just get rid of it. So that is the kind of person but the Arjuna, sorry, the Duryodhana was. A devotee is, on the contrary, is non-envious, and especially non-envious of the Supreme Lord. So because Supreme Lord has got so many opulences, you tend to become envious, and a devotee, on the contrary, is not. So at least theoretically, you should understand that these are some of the requirements. Slowly, as we progress, we will be able to get into more details. Who can understand Bhagavad Gita? One must be inquisitive about the ultimate goal of life. Very important. If you are coming here for the Naam ke vaste, I wanted to learn few slokas so that I can recite them very nicely when I'm asked to do. That kind of a thing will not really give you the advantage of taking Bhagavad Gita. So you should be inquisitive about what is my ultimate goal of my life. So that is the qualification to understand Bhagavad Gita. One must approach a bona fide spiritual master and surrender unto him. See, we think that I can read Bhagavad Gita, book is there with me. Why should I need any of these classes? Why should I need a guru in my life? So all these kind of questions are not going to, you might have seen in your own life. How many times you tried to read Bhagavad Gita? Most of you might have read. How much did you assimilate the knowledge and how much you could put it into practice? So that will not happen unless you approach a bona fide spiritual master. We will see who is a bona fide spiritual master. One must inquire submissively and hear attentively from the Guru. So one of the other qualifications is that you need to inquire submissively. Not that in a challenging mood you are saying that, hey, unless until you tell me this, I will not accept you as my Guru. So that kind of a challenging mood, we should not really be there. Yeah, you can challenge, but again, not with the intention that to make the other person believe that unless until you tell me this answer, then only I can believe you that you are the right person. So not in a challenging mood, but in an inquiry, a submissive mood. So that is the qualification one should have. One must render service to the Guru and please him. One must be a devotee of the Lord, which we already see. So, if you see from whom we should understand Bhagavad Gita, as we discussed, it should be from a person who is coming from a disciplic succession. Guru Sishya Parampara is what we need to see, and that's the importance. Now, if you see Srila Prabhupada, who is imparting this knowledge to all of us, he is coming from a lineage, and ISKCON Parampara, there are 4 authentic Paramparas. One is Lakshmi Sampradaya, Kumar Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, and Brahma Sampradaya. So we come under Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So we are coming from a lineage where it is coming from Lord Krishna. If you see in this picture, the Lord Krishna is there. From that, this is come to Brahma, and from Brahma to Narada and Vyasa and all this, and finally it came to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada's guru, and from there we are all getting it. Okay. एवं परंपरा प्राप्तम इवं राजे ऋषियो विदुः सकले नेह महता yoga nasta parantapa. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in the course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science is appeared to be lost. So basically, the point what we need to understand is that you need to take this knowledge not from Tom, Dick, and Harry, or from some kind of a person who is proclaiming that I am self-learned. That kind of a thing is not what is a right person to teach you Bhagavad Gita or get the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita from them. So we need to take it from a person who is coming from a bona fide sampradaya, and Guru Sishya Parampara has maintained. Okay. So, and what does the Guru do? As we discussed yesterday, he will just become a postman. And he will become a postman to deliver what has been coming from the disciplic succession. Not that he proclaims that this is all my knowledge. Neither Srila Prabhupada said that. There are a lot of gurus in this world who will say that I am that Supreme Lord. So all of you forget about who Krishna is, who Rama is, just depend upon me and just proclaim that I am that Guru. There are people, we know that in Andhra Pradesh also, where they said that when I am here, why do you fear? I am that Ramakrishna, I am that, there are so many people who wanted to fool you. So be careful. And Srila Prabhupada very emphatically emphasized that if somebody says he is GOD God, no, he is not GOD God, he is DOG dog. So understand that there are a lot of people who are ready to fool you in this world. And why we are getting fooled, we will also see that. I know I am taking little time, and okay, the 3 steps to perfection. To study the Bhagavad Gita, it is possible when you understand certain things. And the first thing is that who God is. What is the relationship between the God and the individual soul? And this is called Sambandha Jnana. So very important. You need to understand this Sambandha Jnana. What is my relationship? Who am I? Who is Supreme Lord? What is my relationship between? And what is this Prakriti? What is this Kala? What is my relationship with this time and the Prakriti? This is Sambandha Jnana. So primarily, you will be able to get this Sambandha Jnana from Bhagavad Gita. Not only that, the second thing, process of reviving the soul's relationship with God. This is Abhideya. The process, see, is called Abhideya. I know you are getting new words and you might be getting confused, but don't worry. You will get to know all this and reiterated in the subsequent chapters. Attaining the love of God, which is the ultimate goal of our life, this is Prayojana. So I'll give you an example. I come from an IT background. So when we used to take projects, IT projects, what we used to do is that first phase, we used to go and capture all the requirements from the clients. So you are trying to establish the sambandha with the client and find out what is their requirement. What is that this project is all about. So that is documented as business requirement document or a high level business requirements, BRDs, etc. That is sambandha. What is Abhideya and what is Prayojana? Prayojana is that there is a vision document in each and every project, and it says that what is that we are trying to achieve as part of this project, what is the ultimate goal. And we have seen that Stephen Covey in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he also mentions that you need to have end in mind. So that Prayojana, that end in mind is what you need to also have while you are understanding the sambandha and the process by which you can achieve the requirements that have been posed to you and fulfill that sambandha, you are doing certain things. The doing part, the execution part is the abhideya. So what is Bhagavad Gita? Does it talk only about sambandha only, or does it talk about abhideya and prayojana? Yeah, does it talk about all three? Yes or no? Yeah, can you put it on the chat, please? Yeah. So a lot of you, Gopika Kapram Mataji, Anant Prabhu, thank you for your active participation too. Please do participate. We'll take the question answers in the end. Now, if you ask me, there are 700 slokas. The best exercise you could do for yourself is that whenever you're reading a sloka, you just relate to this. Is this a sloka related to sambandha part, abhideya part, or prayojana part? Or is it a mixture of sambandha and the prayojana, or abhideya and prayojana? This permutation combination also you can do. So you are studying with there is a difference between reading and studying. So study means you are analyzing things, and this will give you a way to analyze Bhagavad Gita while you are reading. Okay, there are two processes of acquiring knowledge: the ascending knowledge and the which is also called as inductive process, Aroha Pantha. So because when you are reading Bhagavad Gita, you need to understand how to read Bhagavad Gita, how to study Bhagavad Gita. So Aroha Pantha and Avaroha Pantha, the descending and the ascending. So the inductive process is always with faults, with uncertainty and inaccuracy. So inductive process is basically, the modern science has absolutely no understanding of the first 5 subjects of Bhagavad Gita. What are the first 2 subjects of Bhagavad Gita? Can somebody put it on the chat? What are the first 2 subjects? Nobody? There are 5 subjects we talked about. What are the first 2 subjects? Yeah, okay, Ishvara and Jiva. Varsha Menon. Okay, Ishvara. Yeah, Sri Lanka Reddy Mataji. Okay, so the modern science has absolutely no understanding of the first 5 subjects of Bhagavad Gita, that is Ishvara and Jiva, and very limited or imperfect understanding of the last 3 subjects, which is Prakriti, Kala and Karma. So understand this, that modern science is not a solution for all the way you can approach Bhagavad Gita also. But this is because the very process of acquiring knowledge, that is to follow the defective or the ascending process, or the Aroha Pantha, to acquire the knowledge itself will not give rise to your right understanding or right way to gain knowledge. So the inductive or ascending process means to not accept any authority, unlike the Avaroha Pantha, where we are accepting the authority and try to find out the truth by one's own endeavor and speculation. Now suppose I wanted to ask you a question. Now suppose you wanted to know who your father is. What are the approaches that you have? One approach is that you kind of find out who my father is, do the research, and with experimentation, by surveying all the male population through inductive process. So that inductive process is what our modern science is using. And this kind of a methodology, if you adopt to Bhagavad Gita also, you will not able to get the right results. Why? Because in this case also, if you see, if you wanted to pursue who your father is, you have to do all this analysis, and how much time it is going to waste. And not only that, you don't even know that your father is alive or not, who that your father is. What is the easiest way to go about that? Yeah, can somebody suggest what is the easiest way to know who is your father is? I know this is a little personal question to ask and put it, but this is an example. Gopika Kabra Mataji, very, very nice. Ask your mother. So if you wanted to know who your father is, you need to ask your mother, and that authority will tell you who your father is. So similarly, if you wanted to know who the Supreme Lord is, what you need to do? You need to approach your mother and who the mother is. And that is what we are going to see, who your mother is. Mothers, it is said that Shastras are our mother. Veda Mata. We call it as Vedas as Mata. There are 5 mothers that we should always respect. And one of them is Veda Mata, the Vedas. So Vedas tell you, the mother will tell you who your father is, the Supreme Lord. So take the shelter of the authority, take the shelter of the Shastras. And Bhagavad Gita is the Shastra which will tell you who you are, who the Supreme Lord is, what is your relationship, and all other 5 areas will be able to do. And here what you need to understand is that you need to follow not the, as we seen here, Aroha Pantha, but Avaroha Pantha. Avaroha Pantha is taking the, accepting the authority. So that is how you need to take. And you know why? Because Vedas have not been proven to be wrong till date. Whatever is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita also, nobody can deny. And see, nowadays what we come to know, one person has got a Nobel Prize just because the previous Nobel Prize winner, he has disproved him. So that kind of a methodology will always be defective and it's not the right thing. Okay, so yeah, so this is what's the proof. The deductive process is faulty. And so now why this deductive process is faulty? Because of the certain reasons. And we'll see that. I'm not going to the details right now because of the lack of time. But Pratyaksha Praman, Anumana Praman, and Shabda Praman. There are 3 pramans or evidences by which you can conclude that which is the best way to go about, Aroha Pantha or Avaroha Pantha. So Pratyaksha Praman has got some defects. And what is that? Pratyaksha Praman is basically, this is the knowledge obtained by direct perception through our senses. And by our senses are imperfect. We all know that. We cannot hear all the sounds, and we cannot see whatever we see also is a lot of defects are there. And the Pratyaksha Praman is not the right approach. Now, this video will be available. You can read that at later point of time. So our senses are imperfect, tendency to be illusioned, and tendency to commit mistakes, and tendency to cheat. And so because of these kind of tendencies, whatever is coming from from persons other than the Supreme Lord will be defective. Because anything that is coming from us, and if you follow some person, these defects will be there in whatever output or artifact that they are generating. So don't follow that artifact which is generated by humans, because Bhagavad Gita is said to be called Apaurshaha. What does Apaurshaha means? Can somebody tell me? I know I'm using some words which are not at all familiar to somebody, but again, to bring you some excitement, and because we are on online, you will not be able to concentrate much. I'm trying to bring you on little attention. What is Apaurshaha means? Yeah, Apaurshaha means Supreme Lord. Apaurshaha means that something which has not come from human beings. Not human. Very nice. So Apaurshaha, see, Bhagavad Gita is Apaurshaha. It has not come from any human beings. First of all, understand that Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Supreme Lord. That's the precondition of, by which you can understand Bhagavad Gita. So that, and if it is coming from any other person, you will have these defects. So Bhagavad Gita and Vedas do not have these defects because it is Apaurshaha. Okay. So Anumana Praman, it is the by which you can infer things by making some hypothesis. And there are, if you see, there are people, how many of you know this Darwin theory? See, the Darwin theory says that the evolution process, that human beings have evolved from monkeys, right? The evolution process. Yes, Krishna Prabhu. So this is based on some hypothesis. They have observed some skulls of the chimpanzees and human beings. They thought that they are alike, and based on that they came up and said that human beings evolved from monkeys. But one small common sense question is that if suppose evolution has happened and we came from monkeys, why there is a population of monkeys still there? Didn't that the sect of monkeys did not get evolved? Only some of them got evolved. This is the kind of nonsense in the name of science we are able to hear from our modern science people, and we are tending to believe it. And how is this evolution? How did this universe form? There is a big wrong notion and a philosophy that as part of the science we get to teach our children is that Big Bang theory. What is Big Bang theory? So the Big Bang theory says that there was a big explosion, and out of which this moon was formed, sun was formed, these 9 planets were formed. So this entire universe came into existence because of this Big Bang theory. What nonsense is this? Can you think about some destructive thing that will happen and so much systematically things will be evolved? The seasons are coming on time. The earth is moving in this rotation, which so precisely that if you move little fast or slow, we cannot exist here. The distance between the sun and the moon and the sun and the earth is so precise that you go little ahead to the sun, you will not be able to stay here. So that kind of a precision is there, and we are talking about through Big Bang theory, this kind of systematic things have happened. So I'll tell you one small story. So there was, you know that there is a scientist called Newton, and Newton was a believer in God, and he wanted to teach something to his atheistic friend, the existence of God. Then he made a model of the solar system, and where it was moving, the earth was there, and the sun was there, and all the planets were moving around. Then this atheist friend scientist came and he said, wow, what a model it is, great. So who made this model? Then the Newton said, I don't know, I just happened to see, it just came. Then the scientist friend said, how is that possible? So somebody might have created it. Unless and until somebody creates it, how can it systematically work? There must be somebody who is having that brain to make this. So then Newton said that if you're talking about a small model like this, then it has to be created by somebody. What about this gigantic universe? The gigantic earth, which is floating on the air, and it is revolving about its own axis and revolving around the sun. And the planets are not colliding, though they intersect their path. How is this all possible? So this is something we need to understand, that if there is a creation, there is a creator. And if there is a law, there is a lawmaker. And these things, unless and until we understand it properly, we will not able to believe it. Okay. So this is a blind man and the elephant, which these blind men come and try to see and describe what is an elephant. And some people say that it's a spear, it's a fan, etc., etc. But unless and until a person who is not blind comes and describes it, we will not be able to understand or describe this elephant. Similarly, in our life, somebody who doesn't have these defects, the defects that we just now told, 4 defects that we have the cheating propensity, we get illusioned, etc., etc. So somebody like that should explain us and describe, then only we, and that person is the Supreme Lord, who doesn't have any defects, and as we said, he is Apaurshaha. So then we will be able to understand this knowledge in the right way. We will understand, because the person who is giving this knowledge doesn't have the defects, like the person who can describe the elephant who is not blind. So like that. Okay. Shabda Praman is the way that you need to go. Shabda means which you can hear, and the word Shabda has come from Shruti. Basically all the Vedas are called Shruti. Shruti meaning basically all the Vedas have come from disciplic succession by oral transcription from Guru to Shishya, So they are also called Shruti and Shabda Praman. Basically, you need to take the words, the Shastra as the injunction, and Bhagavad Gita is one that Vedic Shastra which we are following. Okay. And basically, if you do this, we will we will not only save time, but and also we will be in a convenient mode to understand it safely. So I'm not going into the details of any of this. So we have already seen what is the objective of our course. Our objective of our course is that we will not touch upon every single philosophical point, but highlight certain concepts so that you can go and do your reading or studying. So we will, and these classes will try to give you inspiration to go and read Bhagavad Gita. I would be failing on my end if you are just depending upon these classes and these videos which are going to be shared with you. So you need to go and read. Now suppose we are covered the introduction part. How many of you read the introduction from the Bhagavad Gita yesterday? Introduction. Somebody says that, is there any a chapter called introduction in Bhagavad Gita? So that might be also a surprise, but introduction of Bhagavad Gita, one should read if you have done the introduction part in this class. That way you'll get to know and you'll get the right advantage of these classes. Don't depend upon these classes because hardly we are able to spend time. So read Bhagavad Gita as we are progressing chapter by chapter. We are done with introduction, so please complete introduction today if you have not done, and we'll be completing what is the chapter 1 today. So read chapter 1 today. I will be extending this talk because of my own limitation of putting it across to you. I'm not able to cover it in this stipulated time. Is that okay if some of you can stay back for half an hour? I know a lot of you are working. Yeah, thank you. Most of you have agreed. I know some of you can leave if at all it is hard pressed with time. This video will be shared so you can go through it. And probably from tomorrow onwards, I'll try to restrict the time of 1 hour. Thank you, Madhajis and Prabhujis. So that is what. So main purpose is to assist the participants in understanding the flow, the context, and the practical application of this timeless spiritual teachings. So that will be our focus. So can somebody tell me what is your duty after you go and listen these lectures or these talks? What will you do? What is your duty? I am doing my duty of getting these objectives fulfilled. Read the chapters, right? Read Bhagavad Gita chapters and try to implement in your life. Yes, trying to implement will take some time, but at least make an attempt to read the chapter completely. At least give a bird's eye view of understanding how many slokas are there, some of the important purports, and some of the important slokas that we are trying to read here. Go and read the purports and the slokas at your level for sure, and spend some time. Okay. So we have seen that observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, our observation is defective. So we need to correct our observation. So the way, if suppose you have some defect with your eyes, you go and visit a ophthalmologist and try to correct your vision. Similarly, our vision is defective, and this can be corrected by applying Bhagavad Gita in our life. And to get the way Arjuna got the right perspective, and then he fought the war with a higher purpose, we need to start living our life with a higher purpose, with, inculcating the teachings and instructions given by in Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So we have seen this, that why Dhritarashtra was the person who started the Bhagavad Gita of the 700 slokas, whatever are there, because he is kind of representing all of us. He also has so many limitations. He has got so many attachments. We also have so many attachments. It may not be attachments similar to Dhritarashtra, but some other attachments. So that attachments are not making us to understand and live life fully. We are living life, but we are not able to live life fully. So that is what we need to understand. So this has been put into nutshell or in a summary sheet. What is the, so our journey to spirituality also starts with a doubt. Doubt, asking ourselves that, see, some of you might be working people who might have financially strong, and you might have, you initially thought, if I get some good amount of bank balance, I'll be happy. But ask yourself, are you happy after you're financially stable? Are you happy when you have married? Or are you happy when you have bigger children? For any, I'm not saying that you don't get happiness while achieving all this, but it will not give you permanent happiness. What is that permanent happiness which will give you is what is revealed, and at least that questioning mind should be there. The doubt should come, saying that, why is that I'm suffering here? Why is that I'm not getting that fulfillment in ultimate satisfaction? So these kind of doubts will really make you to understand where we are and accept the fact. So the first module, it is acronymed as doubt, D-O-U-B-T. D stands for Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. And so basically, if you see here, Dhritarashtra was very partial. Mamakaha Pandavas Chaiva. Kim Akurvata Sanjaya. Mamakaha means what are in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He's trying to ask Sanjaya, because Sanjaya has got a vision, a spiritual vision, to see what is happening in Kurukshetra by his guru Vyasadev, and he's all describing all that what is seen there to Dhritarashtra. And he is inquiring from Sanjaya, what did my children and Pandu's son? He is discriminating between his sons and Pandu's, his brother's son. So he is very partial. That itself it shows. And what did they do? He's asking, what did they do? Obviously, you went to a you are going for an exam, and you are sitting in the exam, and some inquiry was is coming. But that person, so and so Krishna, went to the exam. What did he do? It is foolishness. When I go to an exam, what will I do? I'll write my exam. So what did they do? Why is that Dhritarashtra was asking this? Why? Because Dhritarashtra was not only blinded by physically, but spiritually also he was blind. So we will see that, and he was very partial. So, and he was desirous of his children winning the war, and he was doubtful about so many things. Doubtful about the influence of the Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is a pious place. It comes from a word called Kuru, because their great grandfather Kuru has done pious yajnas there, and that influence of that place can also play the role. And maybe my sons might have retreated and agreed to give the kingdom to Pandavas. Maybe that also might have happened. Or maybe because Pandavas are very saintly people, they might have got influenced because of the pious place, and they might have said that, okay, we really do not want to engage in this ghastly warfare. We'll just leave the battlefield. We do not want to fight. That might also be happening. So the holy influence is there, and the pride and the self-boosting of Duryodhana, we can see that the way he is pointing out to his guru. And when he went to his guru, he said he was trying to point out to Dushyadumna, who was basically Drupada's son, and Drupada was his guru, Dronacharya's colleague, or they were classmates. So now the question was that why he was pointing about towards his Drupada's son. Drupada's son, Dushyadumna, he was the student of Dronacharya. It was very well knowing that This person was there to kill Dronacharya, and he has taken birth because of that. There is a long story. In short, Dronacharya's financial condition was so bad that he couldn't really survive because of the poverty. And he went to his friend, who is his classmate, who was a king, Drupada, and approached him and said that, and Drupada denied the friendship, and he said that, how can I have friendship with somebody who is poverty stricken, and the friendship is between equals, and he was insulted like anything. Then he wanted to take a revenge, and then at later point of time, when he trained all the Kuru dynasty, including Pandavas and Kauravas, then as a Guru Dakshana, he wanted to go and defeat Drupada. Kauravas go first, and they couldn't really do that. Then Pandavas go. Arjuna really plays a vital role, and he captures Drupada and brings him back. And half of the kingdom, he Drona gives it back to him and say that, okay, take it. I'm not like greedy person like you. I will, now we both are equal. You have 50% of the kingdom, and I'll keep 50%. So, and but again, he is also a Kshatriya, Drupada. So he does a lot of penance, and from where he gets two kids. One is Duryodhana, his son, who is born to kill Drona, and daughter Draupadi, who is bigoted, so that she can marry Arjuna, who defeated him. So that way, Draupadi is the daughter of Drupad, and that is the name. The name Draupadi also came from there only. So like Kunti, Kunti's father was Kunti Bhoga. That's how we used to have. Actually, Draupadi name is also called Krishni. Krishni, because she is very dear to Krishna. So her name is also called Krishni. So people misunderstand and give false opinions about Draupadi. She married 5 husbands. How can this be? We never see in modern society also women marrying 5 husbands. How is this? All that. But she is a great devotee of Krishna. Okay. So omniscience results. So Krishna's presence, goddess of fortune is there, and Hanuman on the flag, conch shell blown, so Hanuman also is there on the flag of Arjuna's chariot, and whenever Arjuna is blowing his conch shell, so that thunderous sound is coming from Hanuman also. Hanuman, and these are all the signs where victory is on Pandava's side. And the bewilderment, if you see, Arjuna is bewildered. And here in this particular sloka, one of the things that you need to understand is that Arjuna addressed Krishna as Hrishikesha. Hrishikesha means one who controls the senses. At this point of time, what happened is that Arjuna was not able to control his senses. And because of that, he got bewildered, and he's addressing Krishna. And in Bhagavad Gita, you find that Krishna is addressed with different names, and each has got very significance why he is addressed as by that name. And here in this context, Rishikesha, who controls the senses. Okay, and he's got bewildered, and to come out of that bewilderment, he addresses him as Rishikesha, so that he can come out of that lamentation. The uncertainty that is there, because of which his limbs are quivering, and his mouth is getting dried up, and his hair is standing, and his bow Gandiva is slipping, and his skin is burning, and forgetfulness is coming. So you also will experience sometime in your life, maybe not at this level, but if there is so much of uncertainty and confusion, you will find this kind of a bodily symptoms. And that is what you find that Arjuna is also facing right now. And the turning point in his life is that he kind of took the shelter of Krishna, and he knew that whatever decisions he is making, whatever arguments he is making, he is not going to help him. Maybe it is because of the family traditions will be destroyed, or with sinful reactions will come, or there is no enjoyment for me, because if I kill all these my family members, including my grandfather, my own guru, and all these my cousin brothers, what enjoyment I will get? Because everybody will be dead. To enjoy, there must be somebody to be there. So so there is no enjoyment. It's a loss for me. But again, finally, there is a turning point where he is able to come out of this and get the right understanding. So what is the main takeaway from these lessons? One should always choose Lord rather than his energies, as wherever Lord is present, everything comes by default. Energies meaning, so you are not supposed to, energy, all this material world is the energy of the Supreme Lord. We are getting attached to all these energies. Maybe I have a bank balance, I have a nice body, beautiful body, and I am very intelligent, and this and that, these kind of energies which are part of, are coming from the Supreme Lord only. But the right approach is that you need to take the shelter of the Supreme Lord. And once you take the shelter of the Supreme Lord, by default, success will be on your side. Rather than, that's what Pandavas did. Victory takes, sorry. So victory takes sides of the pure and righteous people. Lord is always kind towards the devotees. And he's so kind that he became a charioteer. So lot of people misunderstand Krishna about so many things. He has got 1,000 and odd wives, and he's a sense gratifier, and so many things. Why did he allow this war to happen if he is a Supreme Lord? He shouldn't have really done this. So these kind of misconceptions are there. But in actuality, if you understand, the Lord is very kind, and he is very, in one way, very partial to his devotees also. Though he is equal to all, but he is more dear to his devotees. That's what he says. Okay, so there are few slokas that I wanted to touch upon today, rather than okay. So this we have discussed. Panchajanyam Hrishikesho Devadattam Dhananjaya Poundram Dodham Mahashankam Bhima Karna Vikodara. So here in this sloka, Panchajanya, so the conch shell that Lord Krishna's conch shell is called Panchajanya. So there is a significance of each and every of these particular shankas that were being blown also. Modern science also says that when you blow the shanka in your home daily, there is a lot of auspiciousness, there is a lot of positive vibrations that come. And all that what we are doing as part of our culture is not dogmatic. Actually, there is a scientific backing for each and everything. Okay, if somebody wants, you can message me. I'll send you the what is the advantage when you do blow these conch shells. So this Panchajanya, this conch shell has come, actually this was with one demon actually, and basically how did this conch shell came to him is all a story which we can discuss at later point of time. But point what we are saying is that how did Krishna get this Panchajanya? Basically in Sandeep Muni's education, where he went to his Gurukul, Krishna and Balaram, after killing Kamsa, he got educated, and now as part of the Guru Dakshana, his Guru Sandeep Muni asked him to get his son back, who was drowned in the sea. And but in that sea, there was one demon by name called Panchajanya. So he killed that demon, and then he brought his son back and gave it to his Guru as Guru Dakshana. So that is how the name Panchajanya has come. And each and every of the astras that Arjuna has got, the significance of those astras and the significance of all these conch shells have been discussed in detail in this particular chapter. So Sanjay Uvacha evam yukto Rishikesho Gudakeşena Bharata Senayor Ubhayor Madhye Stapayati Ratamottama. So basically here Arjuna is requesting Lord Shri Krishna and addressing him as Rishikesha. So for each and every, as I told you, the way you are addressing Krishna in each sloka has got a deeper meaning. So I would request you to go and read these slokas and the purports and the translations so that you can get the complete understanding. Here Rishikesha means Lord Sri Krishna is addressed as Rishikesha, the Lord of the senses. And here if you see, he is requesting Supreme Lord Shri Krishna to take his chariot to the midst of the both parties, such that he can see both of them. Okay. So I will quickly go through this. Drushtve mam swajanam Krishna yuyutsvam samapastitam siddhanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishusyate. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. So all the symptoms that we have talked about earlier, when you are confused, when you are not able to make the right decisions and you are bewildered, so all these symptoms are what is expressed. And the turning point in his life came when Arjuna justifies his decisions for not engaging and not fighting the war, and he wanted to leave his bow and then give up fighting and take up to begging alms. So then that's where Krishna in the subsequent chapters tries to give a higher purpose, and so that Arjuna can change his observing or the way he's seeing things now at a deeper level, such that he can get this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and fight this war. And what is it for me, for us in this context? If you see, for us also, we are bewildered, our observation is not correct, and we are also having so many doubts, so much of confusion in our life. But the way what Arjuna did, if we also do it, then we will be in a better position to come out of this lamentation that we are having, the difficulties that we are facing in this particular world, and we can get the ultimate happiness and peace in our life that we are all longing for, not in this life, but in any life that we are there, we are only longing for that. There is a reason why we are longing for the ultimate happiness, and we will dig deeper into that. But to conclude, Arjuna has now decided that my knowledge, my education, whatsoever I had, my shastric knowledge is not going to help me. Let me take the shelter of Lord Shri Krishna and surrender to him, so that I can get the right perspective in my life, and especially in this war. If I have to fight the war, I need to really fight with a purpose, and what should be that purpose is what he requested Krishna, and Krishna in subsequent chapters he is going to elaborate and give the right perspective and right knowledge, such that Arjuna can do his duties. Whatever, there are two kinds of duties that Krishna talks about in later chapters. One is his prescribed duties, and which is because of his constitutional position. Also, he has got his Sanatana Dharma and Swadharma. Both he is going to talk about. And I wanted to conclude now today here, and I am very sorry that I have taken more than expected time. So if there are any questions, you can raise your hands, and Raghunath Puri Prabhu, please help us in addressing these questions, whatever is coming. So we can do it two ways. One is that you can raise your hands and you can ask, we can unmute you. Ashok Prabhu, please take care in the back end to unmute. Yeah, you can unmute everyone. One by one can raise their hands. Yeah, Shanmukhi Mataji, go ahead. You can raise, please, you can also switch on your videos if you want. That way we know that we are not talking to, unless until you do not have any apprehension or any other, you can show your videos. Okay, go ahead, Shanmukhi Mataji. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Can all of you raise your hands, whosoever wanted, so that we can one by one do that? Unmute you.
So, if you made mistakes while reading Gita, what would you do?
I couldn't get the question, Prabhu. Could you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, if you made mistakes while reading.
When we make mistakes while reading, or
Yeah, is it true? Is it relevant, or we have
Okay.
to practice?
see, when a baby wants to walk, and if the baby thinks that I will walk only when I am perfectly able to walk, then the baby cannot walk. We are also babies. We have to make a beginning, and for that we may fall down. We may be able to not speak properly, not pronounce Bhagavad Gita slokas properly. Our understanding may not be perfect. So that is the reason why you should definitely attempt for sure, because unless until your endeavor is there, nothing is possible. And you should also have somebody in your life who can clarify doubts when you have some doubts. So both should go in parallel. You should be able to try your level best. You see, when as a baby, your own son or a daughter, when they were able to speak a little bit, not even they would not even saying amma, they were saying, and the mother used to be appreciating like anything. My son, my daughter was called me amma. So that way Supreme Lord will appreciate you. He is our eternal Father, and he wanted to encourage us so nicely. You will not believe me, I hardly had any knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, but slowly and steadily we are able to get little bit by bit, by mercy of Srila Prabhupada, our Guru, who is able to give this knowledge. So please do attempt, Prabhu. So no doubt.
Yeah,
The
thank
next
you so
question,
much.
please.
I'll try my best.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, Vijay Mohan.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji,
Can you keep your video properly, Prabhu? Okay, that's okay. Now it's fine. Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, this what are these 5 mothers? You mentioned that 5 mothers. One of them is Vedas. Other 4 can you?
I will discuss about that, Prabhu. So you need to also respect your Guru Mata, your Bhu Mata. There are other matas also there, 5 of them. So if you want, I'll send you the sloka at later point of time. Send you the secret. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Next
Hare
question.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes. So you can go in the chat also, Prabhu, if any questions have come.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So there's one question from Sumedha Mataji, that what is the purpose and effect of chanting with beads?
Okay. So we will discuss that at later point of time. What is the, see, we have seen that there is 3 things that you need to follow: Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana. So if you wanted to get connected with Krishna, which is what our Sambandha is, then you need to have the right kind of a process. And that process should not be like any whimsical process that you have decided or somebody else decided. It has to come from the Shastra. And one of the process that we follow, which is coming from none other than the Supreme Lord, is Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama eva kevalam. Kalau nasteva nasteva gatiranyada. So in Kali Yuga, there is no other way for your spiritual growth or spiritual enhancement other than taking this holy name. So that is the understanding based on the Shastra. So we'll elaborate that in the subsequent chapters that we are going to discuss. Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. One question from Pratham Prabhu, Pratham and Mukund Chavan Prabhu. So he is saying, just by reading or understanding Gita, how can we find solutions which are related to this materialistic world.
So when you are reading the Bhagavad Gita, so you will start analyzing that and relating to your life. See, it's the best example what I have shared in today's recap of the yesterday's discussion, where Mahatma Gandhi's quote is there. When doubts haunt me in my life and there is no hope of ray of hope, then I turn back to Bhagavad Gita and I can find solutions to console me and to put me in the right perspective. So like that, when you start reading Bhagavad Gita, it is a user manual where it will be suggesting you this is the right way you need to observe things. This is the right way you need to do your activities. And for all this, your endeavor is required, but Guru's mercy is also required. And you need to really take to Bhagavad Gita in a prayer mood. One is that you need to understand that I have limited knowledge, but when I take the shelter of the Supreme Lord and the Guru, then they are going to reveal some things in my life by which I can overcome these difficulties that are there. Not that we are having a lot of dependencies, without them we cannot go ahead, but that will really help you to come out of this entanglement that we are in and the kind of situation we are in. And you will have the confidence in your life. Very important thing is that you will have confidence. See the difference between Arjuna before he got the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, and after he got the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, one significant difference that has come in his life. His confidence level to fight the war is multifold now. So similarly, to fight this battle where we are in this material world, you need to have confidence, and that confidence will come when you start reading Bhagavad Gita. Slow and steadily, you will be able to get that. Thank you, Prabhu. There was one Dilip Prabhu who raised his hand, but he lowered it, I think. Okay. No other questions, Prabhu? Or
yeah, Prabhu. One question. Two questions are there more. One is, what is the difference between Supreme Lord and God?
There is no difference between Supreme Lord and the Supreme Lord. Basically, there is no difference between Krishna and the Supreme Lord. Krishna is Supreme Lord, but Lord is Sri Krishna. So now in our chapters, we will be discussing who are demigods. So that we will come at later point of time with proper understanding. Next question, Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhu. So next question is from Sujay Prabhu. He is saying that he asks us why some monks tonsure their head and some keep, he keep hair and beard.
I'm not clear. What is the question,
Prabhu? He is requesting that why some monks tonsure their head and some keep hair and beard.
Okay. Now, if you ask me, my hairstyle is like a military man's hairstyle. From the childhood, I like this. And see, one of the things is that we wanted to be simple. And the same question you can ask, why do people, when they go to Balaji, the Tirupati temple, why do they shave their heads? So that's a scientific question, right? Or it is a slight kind of a doubt. Why do we shave the heads when we go to Talanila Lichemu Anantam? Talanila Lichem, why you are giving? Is the Lord going? What is he going to do with your hair? So each and everything that we do has a deeper meaning. One of the reasons they say that most of the time we are attached to this body, and when you are attached to this body, one of the things that you wanted to.
You got muted.
You are mute.
Yeah. So what you need to. So one of the ways that you can get rid of your attachment is when you go to the Supreme Lord, when you shave your head, you are kind of indicating that at least I wanted to attempt to bring down this attachment towards my body. And that is the reason why you shave your head. And probably that is the reason why monks also shave their heads. Make sense, Mataji? Next question, please.
Prabhuji, next question is, how can a atheist or a biased person approach Gita when he wants to read it? I mean, what is Gita? Yeah.
See, the prerequisite to understand Bhagavad Gita is that you should be theoretically at least know that the Krishna is the Supreme Lord. That is at least theoretically. Now you do not have the conviction, but at least theoretically, if you accept, that means you should be a theist. You cannot be a theist. A lot of people put Bhagavad Gita in a different perspective because of their own, basically their own selfish interests. But when you go to a medical shop, you cannot say that now give me. Murali Prabhu, can you mute? The back end, please take care. So when you go to a medical shop, you cannot say that give me paracetamols, 2 straps of paracetamol and 1 set of this medicine I want to take. You take the medicine based on the prescription given by the doctor, and that doctor is Lord Shri Krishna. He is giving the instructions how you should read Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna is our right example how we should be acting like a devotee. So that's how it is, Prabhu. Any other questions, Prabhu? Let's address all the questions because we do not want it to postpone. If it takes time also, let's complete it.
Yeah, Prabhu. So another question is, observing God will clear our doubts?
Observing God, not observing God. So your observation will be rectified. How you see things now, when you get inculcate the instructions and follow the instructions of the Supreme Lord. So our aim is to change our perspective. Right now we have wrong perspective about life, wrong perspective about our own self, wrong perspective about who the Supreme Lord is, what is my connection with the Supreme Lord. So once your this thing is rectified, so then automatically you will be start seeing things in the right perspective, and your observation will now change. The way Arjuna's observation has changed now, and he is now able to see the way that Krishna is now thinking. So he said, I do not want to win, I do not want to fight. But later on, at later point of time, Arjuna accepted. Krishna, whatever you say, I will do. And that is with understanding, not blind faith. That kind of understanding, when it comes in your life, you will be able to take decisions properly. You will not be confused. You will be peaceful, and you will be able to tackle any kind of life situation. So that confidence you will get in your life. And it happened to a lot of people. And my level of confidence to tackle things and take decisions have changed a lot after reading Bhagavad Gita and studying Bhagavad Gita and applying Bhagavad Gita. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Prabhu. There is another question. Who will be from Ajit Bansal Prabhu? Who will be next in Guru Shishya Parampara, followed by Srila Prabhupada?
Who will be? They are already. See, I am following one Guru, who is the disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So he is my Guru. So that is how. But again, as Srila Prabhupada will play a very vital role in ISKCON, because all the instructions that we are following, instructions in the sense, the kind of perspective that he has given, so that we can understand Bhagavad Gita and we can become devotees, has come from Srila Prabhupada. So we will depend completely on Srila Prabhupada teachings, but from a Guru Shishya Parampara perspective, and also the teachings of our Guru is also going to play an important role. So yes, there is no one person called who will be the next successor for ISKCON. That is not the kind of scenario that in ISKCON is there. There are so many gurus who are got initiated from Srila Prabhupada, and from there a lot of people have come, and we are following. And we wanted to take shelter of all the Vaishnavas, senior Vaishnavas, and we wanted to do that.
Yeah, Prabhu. Next question is from Rishi Krishna Prabhu. Why ISKCON concentrates on Bhagavad Gita and not Mahabharata?
Ha ha. Okay. So Bhagavad Gita, as I told you, see Mahabharata, as per our Acharya's perspective also, Mahabharata has no significance, or the importance of Mahabharata is not there if there is no Bhagavad Gita in it. In a Bhishma Parva, if you see, we have seen that if Bhagavad Gita is not there, Mahabharata has no significance. So I'm not saying based on my understanding, it is Acharya's understanding and senior Vaishnava's understanding. So
Yes. Prabhu. Next question is from Krishna Prabhu. He says that what is important, Prabhu, service or chanting?
Service or chanting? Okay. We will see at later point of time that we need to not stick to one thing. There are at least 4 things that you need to follow on a daily basis. That is termed as A, B, C, D. A is for taking the association. Very important. Whether you are doing chanting or not, yes, it is also recommended. We'll see that. But association plays a very important role. Because in the Shastra, it is mentioned that Lagu Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hoy. So having the right kind of an association is the beginning of your spiritual journey. So they say that show me or tell me your best 5 friends, I'll tell you your character. So to whom you are associating is very important. Association is very important. Attend these 18-day classes, and later on also, if time permits, on a regular basis, attend and have association of Vaishnavas. So that way you will be able to counter this prabhav of Kali. A is for association, B is read books. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, these are the manuals which we need to read. C is for chanting. You need to do your chanting, because that is the Harinam, making 1 round of chanting, taking the Lord's name. Mantra means, they will discuss about that at later point of time. What does the meaning mantra means? And the D is for diet. Take that proper prasad. Somebody was asking yesterday, Vinod Prabhu, I don't know whether he is there. So Vinod Prabhu is asking what kind of a food we need to take. So I said, look, basically, as for Bhagavad Gita also, one has to take sattvic food. So try to inculcate to take sattvic food. And because Jaisa Anna, Vaisa Man, they say. So, yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Next question.
Yeah, Prabhuji, last question we'll take. What single activity can we include in our everyday life to live in the shadow of Lord, requested by Gopakumar Prabhu?
Okay. So, Gopakumar Prabhu, excellent question. It also relates to the previous question that I have addressed, wherein first and foremost thing, association is very important. You first of all have association. B, C, D are also required, but must is association. So come to these classes. I'm not saying that because unless until you are there, I cannot teach, and that is the reason why I'm asking you. But as per Shastra, association is important. As I mentioned to you, Lagu Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hoy. So that is what. And lot of things can be told, but that's how it is.
Prabhuji,
So,
Prabhuji, one more thing. Like,
yeah, Avinash Prabhu, go ahead.
Yeah, Prabhuji, the thing that you were saying in the previous, in the
Can
class,
you switch on your video, Prabhu? Unless and until you don't have any.
yeah, like there is a camera or something.
No, that's okay, bro. Go ahead.
Prabhuji, the thing is, you were saying that don't take Bhagavad Gita as a mythology or myth. Take it as a Vedas, and so that you will be approaching it right. But Vedas were being created, yeah, like from you're saying that the things which are not created by men.
Apaurusha.
Yeah. So, like, which are not created by men, is kindly we notice them, or like we assume that it is a kind of myth, or like which is not true as of our knowledge. So how do you console that it is a thing which we need to believe when we are not supposed to?
See, I'll tell you what. If I understood your question properly, you wanted to say that, or you wanted to communicate that how can I scientifically justify myself when somebody asks, Vedas are not mythology, they are not myth. How do I scientifically address this or rationally address this? Later on, we'll talk about Apaurusha. First of all, understand that whatever is mentioned in Vedas, They have not been disproved till date. And it's the complete knowledge. Veda means knowledge. They have complete knowledge. You know what? In Vedas, before any of our modern science has found that initially they said that our modern science said that Earth is flat. But in our Bhugola Shastra, Bhugola Shastra means the Earth is round. Bhugola. That itself is saying that we knew that Earth is round. Other things. We mentioned in our Shastras, it is mentioned that Swapta Deepa. There are 7 continents. How did they know that there are 7 continents? Each and every organs that are getting grown in the mother's womb as a child, when conception happens, in the first 1 month, what will happen? 2nd month, what will happen? 3rd month, what will happen? 9th month, what will happen? Each and everything is described what is happening in the womb of the baby, how organs are growing. How could they know all this? There was no endoscopy, there was no other scopes that time. So lot of things, if you see, all this reveals that it is not mythology, it is proper science. Veda is proper science. Ayurveda, it is also a proper science. From where we get all this. So it is not a mythology, Prabhu. We need to come out of that brainwashing that Britishers have done. And if they wanted to rule us, they made it a point that somehow we need to see to it that their culture is destroyed. Unless until their culture is destroyed, we cannot start ruling them. And slowly they systematically destroyed us. And as part of their process, first of all, they introduced this tea. The tea that we take every day, that tea was introduced by Britishers, by East India Company. And to make us drink tea, they said that buffalo milk is good to go with the tea. And so slowly they started, everyone started rearing buffaloes, and the cows were sent to slaughterhouses. But a cow is such an auspicious animal. We should not say animal actually. She is Gomata. So when you have a cow in your home, no bad evils come. No, so much positive vibration is there. The only creature, animal, if I wanted to say, that gives oxygen in whatever it does, like in the gobar gas, there is so much of oxygen. So we are facing a lot of problems with this pandemic situation because we do not have enough oxygen in the environment, neither within our body. But when you have the right kind of a understanding and follow the right kind of a lifestyle, we should be able to get rid of these misconceptions, and our mind will be free from all these misconceptions. We'll understand things in right perspective. So thank you, Prabhu, for asking. Raghunath Puri Prabhu, can we end for today then?
Yeah, Prabhuji. One question was very, from Sankirtana Mataji. I thought we should take it. Suppose we are having an exam tomorrow. Should we believe in our knowledge, or we should sit in front of the God and do chanting?
See, as I told you, there are 3 things that one has to do. For sure, the 4 things that I mentioned. You need to do your seva, swadhyay, and what is the last one, Prabhu? Seva, swadhyay, and okay. So basically, sadhana, seva, swadhyay, and sadhana. All 3 you need to do. So what was the question what Mataji was asking?
That if exam is there, should we depend upon our knowledge or sit in front of God doing chanting?
No, you have to do your swadhyay. Swadhyay, seva, and sadhana. All 3 you need to do. So, see, we can pray to the Supreme Lord that give me the endeavor so that I can endeavor this exam properly, and I do my swadhyay properly. Swadhyay means self-study. Swadhyay, swa means self, adhyay means self-study. You need to do your self-study. Arjuna, see, in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna should have said, okay, Arjuna, you have prayed to me, You are saying that I am the Supreme Lord, so sit back nicely in the back seat and I will fight this war. He never said that. He given the right kind of instructions and asked Arjuna to fight the war. So you need to write your exams properly with the understanding that you need to fulfill your prescribed duties. Your swadharma is there because of this conditioned body. So you need to, I myself come from a background where I am still studying and achieving certain things. So I do my work. The prescribed duties are there, and there are certain things I need to fulfill. But don't forget the Sanatan Dharma. So our Sanatan Dharma is that we also need to get connected with the Supreme Lord. So read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and do your chanting. All that should be there. Just because you are doing this doesn't mean that you should forget the other one. Both should go parallel. Prescribed duties and your constitutional duties. Both should go in parallel. Yes, Prabhu. We'll end now,
thank
Prabhu.
you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Thank you, Raghunath Puri Prabhu, for helping us in this endeavor of addressing the questions. So I once again wholeheartedly thank all of you for being so patiently available till this time and asking so many questions, relevant questions, pertinent questions. So please continue to read your, do your swadhyay of reading Bhagavad Gita chapter, introduction chapter and chapter 1, if possible chapter 2, because we are going to cover chapter 2 tomorrow. With that I will end. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vranda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
बीच में जो तेलुगु के बात